of this station or its management.
When danger is imminent, will you be prepared? Now many mobile devices can bring you critical information from local sources you trust. With the unique sound and vibration, wireless emergency alerts keep you in the know wherever you are. Learn more at ready.gov/alerts. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
News Talk Cleveland, WERE, Cleveland Heights, WENZ HD2, and WZAK HD3 Cleveland. And streaming live at blackplanetradio.com. This is a paid program brought to you by Starfish Speaks. The views and opinions expressed are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of this station or its management.
Hey, good afternoon. It's time once again for Starfish Speaks right here on News Talk 1490 WERE. Happy Sunday to you. I'm your host for today. My name is Greg Stuart. Alongside, as always, my right-hand man, Mr. Willem Ekels. How you doing, man?
Pretty good, you?
Excited, man. Ready to get this show on the road. We got a very exciting show today, so sit back, relax, and enjoy, man. It's Starfish Speaks right here on News Talk 1490. All right. I'm very excited about this show today, man. Advocacy is a very important part of our everyday life. We advocate for so many things, from education, employment, just to name a few. And our guest today is a pioneer for advocacy, especially in the world of advocacy for people with disabilities. She's spoken out for many things: transportation, affordable, accessible housing, employment. Please join me in welcoming Miss Donna Pease. Good afternoon, Donna.
Good afternoon, Greg.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
That's good. I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for being on the show today. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Just so you all know that this lady I've learned so much from her on so many levels. Like, I can't even name them all. So that's why I asked her to just be a guest on the show. And she said yes with no problem. So, yes, I'm really looking forward to this. Donna, would you mind giving our listeners just a little bit of background about yourself and what you do?
Okay. My name is Donna Pease, and I was born and raised in Cleveland. Went to Tri-C Metropolitan Campus. Graduated with an associate's degree in business management. I've been working for LEAP, which stands for Linking Employment Abilities and Potential, for 27 years now. I did various duties, but for right now, I am the grassroots advocate, and I also am a community support coach for our home choice program.
All right. Yeah, you've done a lot. So I guess my first question would be, would you mind sharing with our listeners, what is advocacy? What does that actually mean?
Advocacy to me means education. You're educating people on things that you need. It's like letting your voice be heard. So you can advocate, as Greg said, in numerous ways. Employment, for accessible housing. You can advocate for accessible, affordable transportation. You can also advocate at your doctor's office. If you have a personal care assistant, you advocate because it's you. You know what you need and what you can do. So that's where your advocacy comes in.
Absolutely. All right. How long have you been advocating?
Well, it's kind of funny that you asked. I thought I started advocating when I was hired to do advocacy in 2008. But when I told one of my friends, that I was going to be an advocate, and he said, well, Donna, You've been advocating all your life. He said, you're just now going to get paid for it. So I'm like, oh, okay then.
Oh man.
So I guess I've been advocating all my life,
Okay.
letting people know my needs and my wants, what I can and cannot do. And I just let my voice be heard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As a person with a disability, how important is advocacy?
It's very important. Because if you don't advocate for yourself or have someone advocate for you on your behalf, that means I don't want to, anything can happen. Things can be done to you or for you that is not conducive to what your needs are. So advocacy is very, very important. And I really didn't realize how important it was until I became a grassroots advocate. And I saw the need in having people with disabilities learn how to advocate for themselves.
All right.
What is it that makes one a grassroots advocate versus a, say, everyday average otherwise advocate?
Well, a grassroots advocate, we start from the bottom, grassroots. So what I usually do, I help organize events. I gather people and tell them how important advocacy is. I do training. I train people how to advocate for themselves. And if they're unable to advocate for themselves, there's something called individual advocacy, where somebody can advocate on your behalf if you're not able to. And then there is systems advocacy, where a group of people get together to make a change happen in our government.
Okay. All right. Willem, you got another question or anything?
Well, I as I'm listening to this, you said that for you, advocacy is essentially education, is how you kind of put it at the start. Now, would you say that essentially what we do here on this show is a form of advocacy as well?
Yes, I would, because you're letting your listeners know what's out there. Like for me, they know that I'm out here doing advocacy, and whenever you have a guest speaker that comes here and talk about their needs or whatever they're doing, that's advocacy, because they're learning. You are educating.
Well, then it seems that your philosophy on advocacy and Starfish's, philosophies or thinking on advocacy are pretty much aligned.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Well, that's good. It's good to hear.
Willem, can you give us a little bit of insight on starfish advocacy?
I can try. I will say I'm not a complete expert on it. I have, though I have lived with the mind behind Starfish Advocacy's methodology, and or at least one of the minds behind it, for a while. I'm not entirely positive I am an expert at all, but I will try.
Okay.
Starfish Advocacy bases its ideals on the concept of the starfish and the starfish method, which takes a lot of its thinking from the way a starfish actually eats, and which involves the way that starfish has 5 fingers, which will equally massage oysters until they're able to weaken that muscle to actually be able to get at the meat in between.
All right. I just found out we have a caller. Good afternoon. Welcome to Starfish Speaks.
Hello there. So every time I try to advocate for my child, and I'm finding this with other parents as well, that we seem to make more of a mess of things, and the school will end up taking away services. So I wonder, if I do my advocating, let me rephrase my question. I'm sorry. If my advocating actually causes more problems, I'm worried about my child being kicked out. And so could you help help me understand how to advocate without having negative consequences.
Well, that's kind of difficult because sometimes it does come up to be negative consequences. But as long as you be persistent.
I try to. Boy, I really.
Hello?
Stumbled through that one.
I
Sorry.
think we lost him.
I don't think we're losing him there. Yeah.
But go ahead, Donna. You can.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And just be persistent and make sure you have talking points. Don't seem like you're being aggressive. Just go in whatever the situation. What I usually do is write down talking points, what I want to address, what my needs or wants are. So I just think about it, and so I try to think about educating them because maybe the person really doesn't know what your child wants or needs, so you might can just educate. So write down talking points like what you want to address to whomever you're speaking with, and try to go in with a positive attitude. And because some people, they go in and they go with this negative attitude, and things is not handled good. But think positive and just express what the needs are, and see if y'all can work together to make everything to achieve the goals for your child.
Absolutely.
Now, it does appear that we have another caller on line 2.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Starfish Speaks.
Hey there, Donna Gilcher here.
Hey.
Well, I was going to jump
Donna,
in.
how you doing?
Hello.
Excellent.
And I missed. I was another caller came in, so I missed being able to. But I wanted to just jump in about the Starfish Advocacy model and how we do
All
it.
right.
And Willem, you did a pretty good job giving our starfish methodology.
I know the
given
whole
how
lore.
we.
I know the whole lore, the starting point, but I can't summarize it. I can't make it. I can't do it the way you do it. I just can't.
Oh man.
William Turkey would not be unhappy with your summary. But, yeah, so Starfish Advocacy was born on invitational education and believing that if we invite all people to come together and work in a positive manner towards something, that you get success.
Exactly.
And so the way the Starfish methodology works is we really try to get everybody at the table to be on the same place, but we teach parents specifically to have education about their child's disability so that they understand everything about their child's disability so that they can be the expert at the table about the disability. We work with parents to make sure they have accurate diagnosis and medical treatment by trained professionals, because sometimes parents come without those pieces of information. We teach them the federal regulations, IDEA and Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. And then we try to help them gain knowledge about how their child's disability manifests itself in a classroom, how it impacts their learning, what weaknesses and strengths does your child have. Because with some disabilities, there's actually really cool strengths that come with them. And then we always talk with parents and try to help them to understand that laws of abundance and collaboration and intentionality. So some of the things that we do to help diminish some of the negative consequences that parents sometimes do get when they speak up and advocate is we try to have parents come into meetings in a positive light. Oftentimes we say bring chocolate, bring bottled water, bring a baked good if schools allow that, so you can break bread together. People are always more friendly and collaborative when you can break bread together.
I always enjoyed the meetings that had food at them.
Right. Right.
And then we really train, we want parents to make sure that they're listening. And so Starfish provides that individual advocacy that you were talking about, Donna. And so what we do is we try to come in and we're a bridging translator. I consider myself the translator at the table, because school personnel talk in school ease, and so they use all the IEPs and MFEs and ETRs and WJNs, all of those acronyms that parents sometimes don't understand. And then parents talk about their kid. And so sometimes they may not use the word that the school person understands. So we do that translating and bridging communication so we can build a really high-functioning team. And so parents using that starfish methodology, that if one leg of the starfish gets tired, another one, it can rest, so the other ones are massaging the appropriate educational pieces for the child. Because sometimes parents are just tired. They have a lot to deal with at home, and they're tired. And so having somebody else be able to help them in that massaging, getting teachers to see their child in new light, having appropriate evaluation. Sometimes the child really hasn't had a good comprehensive evaluation done in all the domains. So they only have one small piece of the child's functioning, and they don't have all the pieces at school. So we really work towards getting all those pieces so that you're looking at the child in a very holistic manner. I love that grassroots up from the body that you talked about, Donna. But it really is a matter of listening, being clear in your communication, and how that, and understanding the process, and then understanding parents have power. They do. I tell parents all the time, you have power, and, the Supreme Court gave you more power.
Right.
Yes.
When, Anthony Scalia said parents are the integral part of their child's education, and they are the guardians of their education at the IEP. They're the most important member at that IEP team. And so I tell parents, take that power, hold on to it. But that's basically how Starfish does it. But Donna, I'm loving the show, and I can't wait to hear the other questions. But I think the reality that you just said is, unfortunately, it always doesn't work perfect.
Right. And if I may say something, when you're talking about parents, my mother was my mentor, hero, because even though I have a disability, she said, don't let anybody tell you what you can and cannot do.
Right.
You know your strengths. You know your weaknesses.
Exactly.
Everybody fails sometimes, but that's how we learn.
Exactly. It's a learning process.
At Starfish, we call disabilities, you're just differently abled.
Yes.
There you go.
That's it.
And so it's a positive thing.
Yes,
there
yes.
You go.
And my mother was a very forceful person in my life. She taught me how to do things. I went to high school, and there was no IEPs when I was in school. So I'm dating myself. But there was no IEP, so I had to advocate for myself with my mother's help on my own. When I was in high school, they told me I couldn't take a class because I have a disability. They didn't think I could do it. But I said, give me a chance.
Exactly.
And if I don't make it, okay. But at least I had that opportunity.
Absolutely.
And I made it. I passed the class. I went on to college where people said I couldn't. That gave me even more determination.
Absolutely.
You know what? I think that it does. Every person that has differently abled, I think there has to be one person in their life that is that person to do that. I know I have dyslexia, and I remember being 4 years old at the doctor's office listening to the doctor talk about my eye coordination and, lazy eye and could never, and that remember him saying, you'll never read. And I remember flying across on the way home, the station wagon, and telling my mom, I'm going to learn to read. And I believe my mother invented books on tape because she, honest to God, My mother would record on those old big rail recorders.
Oh,
She'd
yes.
record books so I could listen to them and I could learn to read them back. She took me to every what was considered new agey at the time treatments. And, did cross pattern crawling in the backyard and the balance beam. And, I credit my mom for
She bought you
being
left-handed
able to
notebooks.
read and, have multiple degrees because,
Right.
she really didn't allow the doctor's diagnosis to define who I was.
Right.
Exactly.
And I think it's great when moms can do that.
That's
So,
exactly.
yeah, I'm hoping more callers will call in and share their stories with you, Donna.
Okay, well, thank you.
All right. Keep up the good work, guys. I'm going to hop off so I can listen.
All right. Thank you, Donna.
Yep.
All right. Bye, guys. Peace out.
Bye-bye. Yep, that was our very
She must have
Ms.
learned
Donna
that part.
Gilcher.
Yeah, she must have learned that peace out thing while in Hawaii. It's the first time I've ever heard her say that whatsoever. Wow.
Oh, man. Wow. Yeah, man. Advocacy is ultra important, not just for people with disabilities, but for everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah, everybody has to advocate for something. And like you were saying, Donna, you had, your mom, she taught you, never let anybody tell you what you can and can't do because of your situation.
Right.
I had my mom, my grandparents, a whole bunch of cousins, and everybody else. And it's like, when you got that at home, man, it motivates you and it just gets you together and you just get out here and do it.
Yep, that family support is
Family support.
very, very important.
Yeah, family support.
It strikes me as interesting, though, as we're talking about this and the whole advocacy thing and talking about, knowing what you need or what, is needed for the, individual who needs advocacy done, for them or
Right.
on their behalf. And it struck me as interesting because I drew a parallel to the concept of everybody does some form of advocacy throughout their lives at some point, and
Right.
those that don't are almost akin to those, say, who are in ways victimized to like bullying. I mean, I think of it actually
Yeah.
as a form of there's
Yeah.
actually
Yeah,
bullying to a
it's a
degree,
form of
actually is a
bullying
form
to an
of,
extent. Yeah.
there's a time when advocacy is needed. And so there's a point at which I would say, though, courage is something that people need. And as we've said,
Right.
that can come from family members or otherwise. But in your work in advocacy, have you found people who say are in desperate need of some sort of supports or anything else, but they just lack the courage to even advocate for themselves?
Yes, there's many people that are like that. They go, well, they're not going to listen to me, and I might not know what I'm talking about. But yes, you do. You just got to get up enough nerve. And now, as long as I've been advocating, I still have to get up enough nerve to sometimes
Exactly.
present myself to get my point across. But I do it because I have to. Because if I don't do it, nobody else will.
Nobody else will. Exactly.
And then people look at me, if you don't mind, Greg, I call myself petite, but I'm very short. And when people see me, and they said, you take care of your own house.
Exactly.
I go grocery shopping. I'm out in the streets. Some of my friends, they say, you out in the streets more than I am.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
But I'm not going to let my disability define who I am.
Oh, yeah, most
That's
definitely.
very important for anybody, for parents and for people with disability. Don't let your disability define
Who
who
you
you
are.
are.
Right. Oh, yeah, most definitely. Because I got a bunch of cousins and stuff now who tell people, man, this dude gets out more than we do. And then I got one cousin who tells people, I use my chair as a front, but when the sun goes down, I'm out here walking around racing, and horseshoe and all of that. I'm like, you gonna stop telling people that story, man. So yeah, I understand firsthand, but no, you can't let your disability keep you in the house.
That's right.
Stay
We will,
tuned. More Starfish Speaks. We'll be right back.
Hello, Hello, this is Donna Gilcher of Starfish Speaks. Join us every Sunday, 1 to 2 on WERE 1490 to discuss hot topics in education. We will talk about resources in the community that address the needs of children with disabilities and enhance the lives of parents and much more. So join us every Sunday, 1 to 2 on WERE 1490 for Starfish Speaks. If you have a question, we have answers.
Hi, this is Reverend Al Sharpton, host of Keeping It Real with Al Sharpton. What you get on my show is real, plain, and simple. You get the truth. You get the facts. I'm here. I'll always be here, and I'll always keep it real. We keep it real. We keep it real. We keep it real.
Keeping It Real with the Reverend Al Sharpton. Weekdays 1 till 4 p.m. on the People's Station. News Talk 1490 WERE. And streaming live on the new BlackPlanetRadio.com.
This is Reverend Dr. E. Theophilus Cavaniss of the Great Abyssinia Baptist Church and president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference.
And this is Pastor Aaron Phillips of Surehouse Baptist Church and executive director of the Cleveland Clergy Coalition.
We're inviting you to join us every Monday as we discuss the issues, the people, and the community. We are here every Monday from 5 to 6 p.m.
We are here to represent what's best for our community. Tune in each week as we continue to work to make our community better.
All right, we are back with more Starfish Speaks right here on News Talk 1490 WERE, the People's Station. Alongside my co-host, Mr. Willem Ekels. Again, I'm Greg Stuart, and we are sitting here with our guest today, Ms. Donna Pease, and you are doing an amazing job. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Greg. I'll pay you later.
I will say.
Now you just... Oh man!
I will say though, honestly, I kind of mentioned this while we were on break, but when you described yourself as petite, I had to stifle a bit of a laugh there because I must say that's a very, very interesting way of putting it. I honestly think you probably get a lot of strange looks when people you say that to people.
I do, but it's okay, because I am very, very short. Some people say, "You what, 2 feet?" I go, "No, I'm a lot taller than that." But, I'm not 4 feet. I'm about 3 feet and some inches. I don't know how many. But I said I'm petite. I'm not short.
Well, considering how much of a joy it is to have you here on the air with us, I'd say you're more fun size than anything else.
I like that. I'm so from petite. I'm going to say I'm fun size.
See now, you done started something. See now, her head gonna start swelling once she gets out of here. But oh man, I have been with Donna on so many trips, and people, you would not believe how people just stop and just look at her like they've never seen a fun size person, as she calls it. And people just like stare at her and she's like, "What are you staring at?"
And it's like, I understand a lot of people, never see. They act like they haven't seen a person with a disability, no matter what the size, shape, whatever. But like I said, education, and when parents, I have been counted when parents, if a child is looking at me, they just grab the child.
Right.
It's like, they're not going to catch what I have.
Exactly. It's not contagious.
But education, let the child ask me questions. I don't mind. I would rather be asked questions than to be stared at. That's another form of advocacy. Educated. And I think they should have in schools now a curriculum about disabilities.
You know what? That wouldn't be a bad idea.
They do everything. So then the children can learn as they're growing up, how to, associate people with disabilities. And they will realize we can have just as much fun as the next person.
I think they'd be worried about how they could actually do something like that without potentially making it seem like they're, I hate to put it this way, but basically putting people on display like in a zoo.
Right.
And so I think that'd be the biggest sort of, hurdle there for them, is actually doing it in a way that doesn't actually lead to, say, greater ridicule or things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I think you'd be very careful about what age range they, sort of do too much of that, or actually maybe say, doing it little bits at a time over each, over a long course, a number of years, just so that way then it doesn't become, say, something that is, say, different than, any other kind of course or different than other kind of educational experience, and it just becomes a natural just thing that occurs.
Right.
But
Right. Donna, what's the biggest issue you've advocated for?
Oh, glad you asked, Greg. Public transportation.
How did I know she was?
How do you know that? Public
Right.
transportation. And that is a very, very important issue because no matter, I can have a house, I can, be medically okay, health-wise, pretty much. But if I can't get out and go places, then that brings on another thing, another health issue, which could be depression.
Right.
Because if I can't go out and just stare at the four walls, okay, I have funds, I'm financially secure, my health is pretty good, but I'm thankful for all of that. But if I can't go out into the world and experience things, then I get very depressed.
Absolutely.
So public funding for public transportation is very, very needed.
devil's advocate here again, though, just to say, I'm one of those people who I refer to myself as an indoor person rather than an outdoor person. Mm-hmm. So like variant of like an indoor cat versus outdoor cat kind of concept. Right. I don't like going outside. If I have to go outside, I don't like going outside.
No, Willem does not like going outside.
No, I like staying inside. Inside is like I'm also a person who's a nester, so I like to stay like inside in my sort of domain in my environment. So honestly, I think like the internet and Amazon and things like that are great. And when it comes to if you don't have to go outside to be able to actually make money, and you don't have to go outside to say go to the doctor or something, then why go outside?
Okay, but my point is, I'm glad you mentioned that. But if you wanted to go outside, you could just get on a bus or drive, am I correct?
That is true.
Okay.
That is true.
And so people with disabilities, we don't have, I'm not calling it a luxury because there are people with disabilities that drive. Don't get me wrong. Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
But there's a lot of us that cannot drive for one reason or another. And if public transportation is not out there as an option for us, there might be people just like you, William, that likes to stay in, and which is fine. But then there's the ones that want to go out. And if they don't have that option, because there's no transportation funding for public transportation, that's an issue. Because private transportation, it costs, trust me.
Right.
It costs a lot of money.
Kind of seems unfair that those who really don't want to leave their houses they'll have the opportunity of basically saying, I don't want to leave it all, and they don't, but also they don't utilize the ability to go if they actually have it. And right. Those then that really want to leave their houses kind of can't because there isn't the ability for transportation as much. Kind of feels like, I honestly, if I could have an excuse to not leave my house, I definitely would want to actually look into that. I'm just to say, I honestly, all honesty, but
right.
I can understand if you say really are one of those people who you want to be out and about and all that. If you don't have that opportunity, it probably is pretty difficult.
It is because
it's very difficult.
Because when I was younger, in the winter it was horrible. Still is now, but there was no public transportation. I had to depend on my mother and brother to try to take me places, and my mother did not have a car. So in the winter, I was like stuck at home. I would cry a lot, which is surprising, but I was really becoming...
You also didn't have the internet, did you?
No, we didn't have the internet. Or Amazon.com.
None of that stuff. Oh, man.
None of that.
I wouldn't survive.
I know, but the only thing we had was, like I said, I'm dating myself, was the TV. Wasn't even cable.
No, it wasn't even cable.
Hey.
So you see, William?
That would be kind of boring after a while.
See, there
Right,
you go.
there you go.
You go.
You just
I mean, I
sitting
guess
in the
you would
room
have-
looking at four walls like, okay,
Well, I guess
what
you
do
could
do
like
now?
get books in that, but you'd have to get the books from somewhere because you don't have a Kindle to download them from.
That's why you couldn't download a book. They
you-
didn't have the books to. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
But nowadays, thankful that there's more access to things that people in general could use and need. But like I keep saying, I go back to public transportation. Because honestly, if it wasn't for public transportation, I wouldn't be here right now.
Right.
I wouldn't be able to go shopping. I have friends and I have family members that could come pick me up, take me, but that take away my independence.
Absolutely.
And I love my independence. I can go and come. I don't have to call up and say, hey, so-and-so, can you take me shopping? Okay, then they have to figure out when they can do it, and then I have to sit around and wait for.
I never really would have considered using public transportation and having that as an option as being a form of independence, since honestly, I always felt it was more of a very more dependent situation where I was dependent on the schedules, dependent on them, dependent
That's
on.
true.
So I personally wouldn't have perceived that way, but I guess I could see how that could actually be a form of independence for others.
Because I don't have to depend on anybody to take me somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm coming from.
Exactly. And, as we talked about before, for those of us with any type of disability, but particular mobility disabilities, our independence is everything.
That's right.
It's
everything.
Our independence is everything. And to reiterate with the whole driving thing, for those of us in motorized chairs, we drive. We got sidewalks and a crossing signal, and everybody else has open roads and a traffic light. So we still drive. We just don't have to deal with the whole car issue.
Though, if you put enough horsepower in that chair, wouldn't you necessarily have to be on the roads by that point?
Yeah, you got a point. Oh, man. Donna, in your opinion, what makes an advocate?
A person that is.
We got another caller.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Starfish Speaks.
Yeah, I have a quick question about the repealing of the HR 620, the ADA Education and Reform Act.
Okay.
So what's your thoughts on that and what people should be doing now, as the House has already voted to pretty much gut it and it's going to over to the Senate? Is there any way to turn it back? Are we just moving away from people with disabilities having the right to be able to advocate for themselves? I'll take the answer offline.
Okay. What I would suggest, in my opinion, is to contact your state representative, your senator, let them know the need, and get other people. You could draft a letter. You can call and find out, and let them know how important, and get other people, let them know the importance of this issue.
All right. Yeah, definitely. But back to that question, Donna, what makes an advocate?
An advocate is somebody that is confident in what they know, what they need, and make sure that they're educated on what their needs and want. Just go out there willy-nilly and talk about things, Make sure you know what you're talking about. If you need to do some research on because you know what you want.
Exactly.
Some people might have a hard time expressing. So do some education, do some, background information. Like I said, talking points. I do talking points. Some people ask me to speak, and I've done a lot of public speaking. Okay, but what are the talking points? What do you want me to convey to the audience? So that's how I'm being an advocate. I have been to Columbus numerous of times talking about funding for public transportation. I have been talking to legislators. I call them up. I write letters. Sometimes I get letters back. I don't know if anything will occur from my advocating, but at least I know I've tried. I just didn't sit and just don't do anything. I tried. So I always advocate. I know a lot of legislators, everything. So I go to Columbus. I've taken Greg along.
Yes, she's taken me to Columbus with her on several occasions. It's gotten to the point now to where all I got to do is tell my mom, "Hi, Mom." All I got to do is tell my mother, "I'm going to Columbus." "Oh, you going with Miss Donna? Okay. Have fun. Just let me know when you get there."
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
I have spent nights in Columbus, at different conferences, advocating, doing public speaking on the importance of advocacy. And if you want to know something funny, when I was asked to become a grassroots advocate at LEAP, I was nervous. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to mess up. I'm not going to know what I'm talking about and everything. But then when I had to learn. I had to do some learning about what advocacy really is and how to advocate. I knew how to advocate for myself, but to, try to teach other people how to advocate. So I did research because I was nervous at first, but now I'm a pro. I think I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah, she's the best at what she does. That's the truth.
Though with anything, I'm assuming that you probably still have some things that you have to kind of learn along the way.
Oh, yes.
And
yes,
there's a learning experience every single,
Right.
around every single corner. But you would say that for advocacy, though, that to advocate is not necessarily just to say speak up, but actually speak up with a purpose, have actually guided, point to it.
Yes.
So when you're talking about the talking points, you think that that's actually something that's useful for anybody who's actually trying to get a point across, rather than just say them just speaking just to speak on a topic.
Right.
They actually speak with the purpose of conveying information on the topic.
Exactly, William. Yes. Like for me, like I said, I'm fun size, so with my wheelchair, I can't reach a lot of things up top. So I have my wheelchair that elevates. It goes high, so I can reach things without asking people to help me or something. So I had to advocate for a wheelchair that elevates. I did research. I found out, so they do have wheelchairs that can elevate, that rises up and down.
Do they have chairs that allow you to rise it up high enough that even if you're talking to somebody who's say 6'4", you can still look down on them while you're doing it?
Well, I can't get down, but I can do pretty much like just now. So I can reach the mic. I raised my chair up.
The first time I saw Donna's chair do that, my eyes got real big. I was froze. I was like, oh my God.
Think about how tall you could be.
Right, like her wheels are on the ground, but her chair is elevated right now. This is the coolest thing ever.
But see, I had to advocate, and I did research.
Right.
So when I went to the medical supply, I said, I would like a wheelchair that elevates, that go up and down. Had to make sure that the health insurance would pay for that, which they did, and so that's what I got.
Did they pay for it easily, or did that take some advocating as well?
You know what? That didn't take much advocating because, once again, my talking points.
Mm-hmm.
Independence. I like to go out. I'm very fun size. So I can't reach things.
Right.
And there's people that really, I go grocery shopping, and they can see me struggling, or I can say, excuse me, could you? And they'll look at me
just look.
and keep going. And then they might say, well, shouldn't you have somebody with you? No, that's my choice.
I've gotten that a lot.
My choice if I want somebody to go with me. But why can't I be independent enough? And does it cost a lot to just reach something from the shelf and hand it to me?
Right.
No. So, so I advocate. I'm like, I'll just go on my own, and I just raise my chair up, and then people in the store be like, wow, they'd be amazed too. Then they go, how high can that go? Because now they want me to do demonstrations and all of that.
Yeah.
But at least they're learning on the topic.
Exactly. It's a learning curve. Right.
Now, I will say, though, about this,
right.
we're going to be going to break shortly, but I will say about, reaching stuff on shelves higher up in stores. It's interesting. I've actually been in stores before where there's somebody who is in a wheelchair having difficulty being able to reach one thing on a shelf higher up. And you can see people will, pass them by and completely ignore them.
Right.
Yet that same individual can, in just another aisle over, see a child who wants to get something from a higher shelf, and they have no problem whatsoever with actually assisting them.
Right.
And that's simply a matter of the kid hasn't grown tall enough yet to be able to actually reach it.
Right.
But what's so strange or out there about actually helping somebody else who isn't able to reach it, regardless of whether or not whether age or anything else.
Yes,
Exactly.
that's right.
Exactly.
And one time before we go to break, I was trying to reach something, and it was so sweet. This other lady, she was in a wheelchair. She said, "Can I reach something for you?" And I was like, "Oh, that is so sweet of her." I mean, she's about as petite, fun size as I am, and she was offering to assist me. So I'm like, that's what we need more people, overlook the wheelchair. Don't look at the chair. Look at me. I am a person that uses a chair. I'm not the chair.
Exactly.
Well,
we got to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of Miss Donna Pease, Starfish Speaks.
Hello, this is Donna Gilcher of Starfish Speaks. Join us every Sunday, 1 to 2 on WERE 1490 to discuss hot topics in education. We will talk about resources in the community that address the needs of children with disabilities and enhance the lives of parents and much more. So join us every Sunday, 1 to 2 on WERE 1490 for Starfish Speaks. If you have a question, we have answers.
Everything you need to know about Cleveland sports, news, weather, and more is at newstalkcleveland.com. For instant updates, follow us on Facebook at newstalk1490 and on Twitter at newstalk1490.
Darren College, a former NFL Super Bowl champion, signed the most important contract of his life to serve in the Army National Guard.
I've had a lot of military in my family. It's a big part of what my family's done for a long time. I want to go out there and make a difference. I didn't find that working behind a desk, so for me it was a pretty easy decision to make. And then the opportunity to serve my community, serve my country was just icing on the cake.
To learn how to be part of the Army National Guard, log on to nationalguard.com. Sponsored by the Ohio Army National Guard. Aired by the Ohio Association of Broadcasters and this station.
News Talk 1490 is celebrating Black history by saluting future history makers, people giving back to our community today to shape our tomorrow. Today we salute Nakia Miller, founder of I Am, Mirror Messages, a cultural movement and platform designed to rebuild the self-esteem and positive mindset of women and young girls facing domestic violence and low self-esteem issues. Nakia Miller, we honor you for exemplifying the qualities of a future history maker. Future history makers.
Brought to you by Dominion East Ohio and Gentleman Jack Double Mellow Tennessee Whiskey.
To learn more about our future history makers and how they are shaping our future, log on to newstalkcleveland.com.
So that everyone
All right, we are back live with more Starfish Speaks right here on News Talk 1490 WERE, alongside my man Willem Ekels and my guest for today, Donna Pease. Once again, my name is Greg Stuart. And Donna, you are just still in the show today, man. You are like having a ball with this.
Well, thank you. And I was nervous, too.
Yeah, she really was. What do I say? What am I? No worries, man. We got you. We're not going to make it difficult for you.
You do a lot of public speaking, though, I'd assume. So why would you be nervous?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I mean, I would think somebody with a lot of public speaking a background of that wouldn't really get nervous nowadays with actually a new, another opportunity to speak to a large number of people. I mean,
I really can't answer that. I don't know, but now that I have a mic and these poles in front of me and wherever else and headphones, I'm good now. As long as you don't ask me to sing, we good.
You know what? I now have the sudden desire. Maybe we should try that.
Oh, man.
No, I won't do that to you.
Yeah, you lose all your speakers. All your listeners go click.
But I will say we do actually have a question that came in that it's asking about whether or not you think there is some connection to the funding for public transportation and racial bias, especially, say that since there is such a pronounced degree of racial bias when it comes to the identification of autism as well as other disabilities.
I've heard that some people say that, but from what I'm learning as I go is that state legislators, I don't think they get it. I really don't think they understand. That's where the education come in, because a lot of them live maybe like in rural areas where they feel like they don't need it. But when I go and testify in front of them, I say, look, it's not just for people with disability. It's for this elderly. It's for people with low income who might not have a car but have a job, or two families, both parents in a home but only one car. So it's like, I said, with me, I am so happy to be able to work, to put into society. But if there was no way for me to get there, none of my co-workers can stop by and carpool with me. They cannot put this chair that weighs a lot of pounds into their car. There's no way. So that's why I tell them, I said, I want to be vital to the community. I want to work. I want to give back to society. I just don't want it to be handed to me. I want to get out there and be productive. Even if it's volunteering somewhere, I want to be out there. There's no way I can do it without public transportation.
Absolutely.
Now, and there's something you just mentioned about saying that you don't feel like the legislatures really, get it. The legislators don't quite understand it. They don't quite have that need for education there. I just saw and dawned on me this concept. I'm going to throw this out here. Okay. What about a reality television show where all of our legislators are required to actually go through and for like a certain period of time live their lives in a simulated sort of like environment of what it's like for those who are low income or say because I know my mother told me about this when she was training to be a teacher, special ed teacher. There was a time when they required for teachers to go through a program where they would, for a day or whatever, wear something to make it so that it was simulating what it's like to have a visual impairment, have visual problems, or be hearing impaired and that kind of thing. And so, what if we were to actually require all of our legislators to do that? First off, I think it would appeal to, say, the vast majority of the population that doesn't have disabilities simply because they'll enjoy watching this on television. I mean, I think that'd be a way to get some of that education across. Don't you think?
I think that would be great. Yeah, okay, William, you and I need to put our heads together and have a relax. But speaking of that, when I was at college, I went to Tri-C, the Metropolitan campus, and when I went, the doors were not accessible. There was nothing accessible there. Mm-hmm. So what I did, there was a group called the Access Club, and what we did was we held like a Disability Awareness Week, and we was down by the bookstore where most traffic is, and we set it up where we wanted not just the students, but the faculty to get in a wheelchair, be blindfolded, put headphones on where they could not hear, and really go around the campus.
Right.
And we followed them to make sure they didn't cheat. So
or they didn't hurt themselves.
Right. So one of the deans, we followed it, and he couldn't. He opened the door, but he couldn't get over that little threshold, and he wanted to like stand up and pull the chair, but no. As a person in a wheelchair, I can't get up to pull my chair over that threshold. So after they really realized that, that's when they started putting on the automatic doors, making the bathrooms accessible. So I feel like I was a pioneer in that instance because I was part of that learning process for the faculty to say, hey, people with disabilities, they want to go to college. Mm-hmm. So make it easy, accessible. So now that's where the push plates come in, where you just push it and boom, you're in there.
So how has being an advocate impacted your life? I mean, you answered it a little bit, but yeah, how has being an advocate impacted you?
It impacted me the way, because when I see other people and they're struggling, and I say, well, have you thought of this? Have you talked to somebody about what you need?
Right.
And they go, well, no, I don't know how. So I say, it's kind of easy. I try to help them out, with talking points. Like, what do you want? Just think about what you want to convey to whomever it is. Instead of the struggle. You still might be struggling, but at least you're trying to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I do speaking at Case Western Reserve once a year to the students who are going to become social workers. And I talk to them. I said, when you become a social worker and when you have your clients, consumers, whatever the terminology they use, treat them like a person. Listen to what they want. Listen to what they need. Just listen and take heed of it. And I said, you'd be great. Just think this is a person. And sometimes, for me, please don't feel sorry for me, since I said I'm short, petite, fun size. Don't feel sorry for me. I don't want sympathy. Empathy is very important. Empathy means putting yourself in that person's place. How would you feel if you were in a wheelchair? What would you want? And that's how you do. So feeling sorry for me, that's not going to work for me.
No, that doesn't work.
Don't feel sorry for me. Putting yourself in my place, thinking, if I was in a wheelchair, what would I want to see done? What would I want? Would I want somebody to help me? So that's what I tell them. Please, be empathetic, not sympathetic.
So in closing, what advice would you give to our listeners?
Well, what advice is just that just whenever you feel that you need parents to, what your child needs in school, let them be part of that IEP process. So have everybody at the table, the parents, whoever is important to you. So when you advocate, same way in the doctors. When you advocate for, ask questions. One of my friends was diagnosed with cancer. She didn't know what to do. I said, well, you need to ask certain questions. So she was like, okay, let me write these down. So that's what she did. She wrote down questions because she had no clue. She'd never been in this situation. I never been, but I know about I know about doctors because, they like my second family. I've been in hospitals in and out so much. But for people who don't know, just try to learn. And if they don't know how to, get somebody, see if there's somebody within their network, family, or friends, who can help them out. So don't be afraid to advocate for yourself, somebody else. Just educate, research, learn so you really know what you're talking about, and it comes across that you really are serious. It's no joking matter, and something needs to be done.
And so basically, is also, if you are truly serious about advocating, that don't be afraid to ask for help or assistance in that advocating, or ask for others to borrow on their intelligence and knowledge.
That's right.
Good.
Well, that's our time for today. Once again, I want to thank Ms. Donna Pease for taking the time to come out here and do the show for us. Thank you very much, Donna.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for listening. Join us again next Sunday. Have a good one. Starfish Speaks, News Talk 1490.
Moving like a dancer in a perfect dream. Take my time, wait with you, make it last, keep it true. I love her, love me too. I alone know me. Something of believing
The proceeding was a paid program brought to you by Starfish Speaks. The views and opinions expressed are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of this station or its management. WERE Cleveland Heights, WENZ HD2, and WZAK HD3 Cleveland.